Welcome to Talking Assholes. I'm just kidding. It's actually just the Tip-Sters. And it's not about assholes that speak. It's about people who kill people.
Right.
Talking about assholes. I just like talking assholes better. What do you think? What do you think, Joshua? Do you think it should be like our spinoff?
Assholes talking about assholes?
Who are you calling an asshole, young man?
Okay.
So I'm one of those bitches that's really blessed to have friends who are radio professionals. And Joshua and I have a common friend because Joshua worked at the big ass rock station in LA, KLOS. And Joshua has a beautiful voice and a great personality.
Oh, thank you.
And I recruited him. And I was like, bitch, will you please be my co-host on my podcast? And he's like, okay, all right.
Fine.
If you chloroform me and I show up in a seat with headphones on, here I am. Rock me like a hurricane.
I am so excited.
So I'm yielding my time to the gentleman from California. So you go ahead.
Yeah, nice.
You tell me how amazing you are.
Tell you how amazing you are.
No, you. I want to know all the stuff you do. I know you're a writer and you went to film school and you were a journalism major. And
I did. And I worked in radio for a while and in FM radio. And that was the dream growing up.
Me too, boo.
And then once I kind of got there and realized
you don't want to see how the sausage is made.
Not my dream.
Yeah.
Exactly. But this is super exciting. I'm really excited about the whole podcasting world. I'm excited about being here. I'm excited about hearing your stories. You have told me multiple stories now about different cases, and the way that you tell stories just blows me away. And I'm like, I don't even really dig true crime that much, and I can't wait to hear what you're going to say.
I love to recruit my talented friends who really don't care about true crime. It makes it almost more innocent and authentic, because what happened in my experience with you is that we were in a car and I'm driving and I'm telling you the story that other people would be like, I don't give a shit. And I look over and your eyes are like the size of saucers and you're like, I mean, you were almost sitting sideways in your seat.
Totally.
And I was like, okay, I think he likes this. At least he likes the way I tell it. So, and I love your personality and sense of humor, and I love your voice. And I was like, I wonder, I will be honest, my best friend, Angela, I was thinking it, but I thought he's too busy. He doesn't have time. His family and career and all that stuff. And my best friend, Angela, said, I think I must talk about you a lot, all good things. Because my best friend, Angela, said, do you think Joshua would be a guest, a co-host? And I was like, oh, I wanted that, but I was afraid to voice it into the universe. But then I asked you and you were so gracious.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so happy you're here. I can't even tell you.
I'm so excited to be here. This is amazing.
Well, no, it isn't amazing. And I will be completely honest with the Tip-Sters. This is Joshua's second time here because I fucked up, and I explained that in my little apology tour 2022. I am terrible at recording, and also I am an alien and blow digital shit up on the regular. And I got tired of using Audacity because it was just a glitch fest for me. So my beloved editor, Matt, said, why don't you try Zencastr, which is just a little bit of a learning curve. It's just different, but it sounds good. And I fucked up and we couldn't hear Joshua. We could sort of hear him, but even Matt, who could boost his audio, said it's just too staticky. But we just did a test and Joshua sounds great. And the element of surprise is gone. But
I can pretend.
I know you can. See, you're a much better actor than me, and I'm a terrible liar. So I didn't want to do that because I'd be like, so Joshua, are you surprised at what you're hearing? I'm terrible. I can't lie. I have no poker face. Right. I have no filter. It's terrible. So I have full faith in you as an actor, but I'm not doing that.
Sure. But listen, also the other cool thing about this case is this case specifically, I'm imagining you're going to pull out some more stuff that I didn't hear the first time, or I wasn't quite on the first time, or
I think you're on it.
This is crazy.
So an explanation is Joshua had seen the movie Where the Crawdads Sing. I had zero interest in seeing it. I'd been invited by neighbors to see it, and I was like, Hell no. And I get it. It's from a book and the book club is popular and all that
Right.
bullshit. And I didn't care.
Right.
So I say to Joshua, hey, do you know the story about Where the Crawdads Sing? And you're like, oh, I saw the movie. It's beautiful. I'm like, do you know anything else? And you're like, no. And I'm like, don't read anything. Put your Google away, sir.
Turn off your social media.
Yeah. No, unplug your phone, let it die, and don't you dare. And you did, and you were good and kind and didn't. Because if someone said that to me, I'd be like immediately, what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened? Because it's a more fascinating, interesting story than I could ever even imagine. And I, again, wasn't interested in the movie because I was just like, I don't think I can do it anymore. Being from Kentucky, if I saw one more representation of the South, and apparently this is a well done representation, but I just didn't want to see it no mo.
It is. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful movie. So I saw the movie.
That's what you said.
And then actually you told me this story last week,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and got the book and I read the book.
Of course you did.
And I was hoping for more, clues within the book somewhere. I didn't quite find any. Basically the movie follows the book pretty exact.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, and I don't know how you couldn't, and maybe you all have turned your phones off too. So Delia Owens wrote this book, and it was huge. I think it came out in 2018, and it's Where the Crawdads Sing. And Reese Witherspoon had it in her book club, and then optioned the rights and produced the film. And it opened a few weeks ago, a few more weeks now because I fucked up the audio. And I couldn't believe that all I was seeing were articles about what was going on behind, and no one was talking about it. I'm like, how can you not talk about this? This is way too fucking fascinating to me. So how about if you talk about the movie first, if you want to give like a synopsis?
Sure.
I would love that.
Okay. No, that's absolutely. It's beautiful. Reese Witherspoon's movie is gorgeous. It's in the swamps, the marsh in North Carolina. And I mean, the whole thing it's gorgeous. I saw it in the theater. I think it's probably close to streaming now. And the birds and the fish and the marsh, it's just these gorgeous scenery, which obviously you don't get in the book, but it's beautiful. The actors do a great job. And you got these beautiful people running around the marshland barefoot in sundresses, and it's just it's gorgeous.
It sounds absolutely terrible. And I feel like you're uniquely qualified to talk about it because you've now read the book and seen the movie.
No, it is. And it's a great story. There's, summer reading list kind of book. It's not super intense. There's actually some really beautiful poetry in it that Delia Owens makes up this character of a town poet that,
oh wow,
that she puts some poetry in, and obviously it's her own poems.
Wow.
So let me tell you, I'm trying to run through my head how to not spoil it too much, but
fucking
give it
spoil
away.
It. No, fucking spoil it. We got to spoil it because
that's true.
The true life won't make sense if the book and movie aren't explained to the end. So if you don't want to know what happens, turn it off now, but fuck you. Listen. Just fucking listen.
Just fucking listen.
Yeah.
So, okay. So it's the basic story is that it's a love triangle. It's about this little girl who is the swamp girl. She lives just outside of the town, in the marsh. And, her mom leaves because her dad is abusive. Her dad eventually leaves. All of her brothers and sisters leave. So she's all by herself. She's 7, 8 years old, all by herself. She's growing up, and she's an outcast from the town because she's the marsh girl. And as she's growing up and she's living by herself and figuring all of that out, she meets this one boy who's so kind to her, and he teaches her to read, and they have this teenage kind of love growing up, and then he goes off to college, And then she's lonely again because one more time, somebody, one more person left her from her life.
Aw.
So she ends up there. There's a kid in the town quarterback, the son of the
Of course.
the rich, parents in town. He starts to kind of court her, but then you realize he doesn't really have good intentions. He's kind of just courting the marsh girl as a trophy, or that kind of thing. And he makes advances that aren't so welcomed. She's not ready for, and then it gets very physical. And this whole time they're bouncing back and forth from 1952 to like 1969.
Okay.
In 69, the quarterback's body gets found.
Okay.
So they're now doing this murder investigation and then a trial. And then, so she gets arrested and put on trial for murdering this other kid.
So people must know that she might have had a motive, or is it just like, hey, she's an outcast?
It's mostly, the whole town is against her. That's kind of why she gets arrested, and she's just this outcast. But then, yes, the motive kind of starts trickling up as the story goes along, and we're meant to kind of follow along and oh no, you're just persecuting her because she's an outcast. But then, I don't know, did she do it?
Right.
And so it's fun. It's a good film.
So I have read, and these are reviews, so don't think you're spoiling anything. It may be ambiguous, but it is sort of comes out at the end that maybe he didn't accidentally die. Is it left ambiguous?
No, it's not left ambiguous.
Okay.
It's not left ambiguous at all, which is
Right.
actually one of my criticisms of the book and the movie, because I don't need the Hollywood ending. Leave it ambiguous. I'd be fine with that.
I like the ambiguity too, but I also, I'm such a bitch. I really like shit tied up with a bow on it too.
No, I hear it, but yeah.
So, all right. So can I just say now I feel like, even though we already did this, and at first it was so fun talking to you about it and looking over and seeing your face like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like more shit and more shit and more shit and more shit. But I actually am glad that we did it this way now, that we're doing it this way, because I now feel like it's even more clear that what is the protagonist, the female protagonist's name?
Her name is Kaya.
I kept thinking Maya. So Kaya is Delia Owens. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Kaya is Delia Owens. So the thing that was so prevalent is that, could this book be a subconscious confessional of sorts? Right. And I get, the more I read about Delia Owens, I think so. Because Delia Owens was a weirdo who was an outcast, who was always very smart, who, I'm going to say this, and I bet you're going to say there's a parallel, got along with animals more than people.
Absolutely.
So she meets a fellow weirdo in Mark Owens at the University of Georgia. And they both major in like microbiology, and they become these conservationists. And they move to Africa. And the first place they land, which, hold on, it isn't Zambia. I'm trying to remember what the original city was. They moved to one, nation in Africa, and they get thrown out because they spend too much time trying to fight for the rights of animals over humans. Right. And they're asked to leave. Oh, where is it? Oh, I hate myself right now. But they end up in
Botswana.
Maybe. I can't find it and I feel stupid, but they end up in Zambia, and they set up a conservation, a protection area for animals. And they really go after poachers because they don't want them taking the ivory, the tusks from elephants, along with other things. They seem to want to preserve certain species that they feel like are becoming endangered much too quickly. So they, have this hatred for poachers. So in March of 1996, there's an ABC News magazine called Turning Point, and it's hosted by Meredith Vieira, and the person who hosts it in the studio is Diane Sawyer. So she does like an intro
Oh, wow.
and talks about this couple, and it's called Deadly Game, the Mark and Delia Owens story. Now, it wasn't, at first, I believe it was called Deadly Game because we're talking about game that's being killed. And it takes on a whole new definition when what happens in front of the camera.
Oh, boy.
And it becomes the book we all read in school, what, The Hunted, or that where you chase people through the woods and kill them.
Oh, yeah.
What was it called?
The deadliest game.
The deadliest game.
Yeah.
It really does become the deadliest game. And now we're hunting humans. So Diane Sawyer introduces the broadcast and says they went halfway around the world to follow a dream, an idealistic American couple in love, but a strange place and time would test that love. The strange place is the nation of Zambia. So I guess things are a little looser there, which we'll find out because there's still an investigation going on. What is it? 34 years later? 24? It's a long time now. Yeah. So Meredith Vieira is hosting this, and there is a very well-respected cameraman from New York, from ABC in New York, and Chris Everson, and he is very well-respected, and he is there filming what's happening. So they, show them where they live, how they eat, people they talk to, and then there's an incident where a guide that is paid by the Owenses is showing them the American version would be like a hunting stand. It's an area where a hunter had been, residing when he wasn't hunting.
Okay.
And the guide picks up some spent shells and holds them and shows the camera, showing that a hunter had been hunting there. And this is a protected preserve. But poachers show up anyway. It's hundreds of thousands of acres. And what are you going to do? Catch me?
Sure.
Yes, they do.
Oh, boy.
So while they're looking at this hunting camp, a poacher returns. And I feel like as a way to justify what happens, they call him a trespasser. Is he legally trespassing? Yes, you can make an argument for that. Oh, for those of you who are hearing weird noises in the background, it's not Joshua. It's Siren Marie who wants to get to Joshua and lick him.
Oh, boy.
So yeah,
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, there's a line. Get in line, bitch. There's a bunch of us want to lick Joshua, but she's more insistent. So anyway, that's what's going on. So I feel like they have to justify what happens.
Sure.
So they now refer to him as a trespasser and occasionally an interloper, but for the most part, a trespasser, and instead of a poacher, because a poacher, I mean, to me, it's like it's disposing of someone who did something, and it's not your job to be the judge and jury.
Sure.
So what happens is Chris Everson is shooting footage, and you don't see the murder, but you fucking hear it. So what happens is the poacher comes back to his camp, and the camera is still kind of shooting a long shot, and off to the side, you hear the guide shoot one shot, and you hear the poacher groaning, and he is on the ground, apparently. And then you hear two more shots, and the groaning stops.
That's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign. Groaning at least lets you know somebody's still there.
Sure.
And I am stunned and shocked that this aired. This was produced, edited, and aired on
This was actually on the air.
It was
this
on the air in
found footage. This was on the air.
Yep. Aired in 1996. Wow. The only thing I can think is that it was either the show only lasted, I think, 2 seasons, so it was probably lowly rated. So maybe a lot of people didn't watch it, or a lot of people didn't know what they were seeing or understand. Right. Maybe they thought it was legal to shoot. So I know I can talk to Joshua about this because he knows more than I do. But when I was in high school, a crazy sociology teacher said, who was just all about the civil liberties, big follower of John Birch, if you shoot someone on your front porch, drag them into your house.
Sure.
Because they have to cross the lease line before you can shoot a trespasser. They could stand on your porch and shoot you, or if they have an axe with a really long handle. I'm always all about axe murderers. I don't know what's wrong with me. That's just where my head goes.
All the best stuff.
Just one reason why I loves you, because you think all my weird shit is the good stuff. So yeah, you have to, if you shoot someone on your porch, you got to drag them into your house.
Sure.
So he drummed that into my head, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to shoot anyone. Probably not. Hope I don't. So I don't know what the legalities are in Zambia. Like if you can just shoot someone in an open field who you think might be hunting endangered species. I mean, I know you can't. That's not. And the Zambian government has come out since the movie opened and said there's no statute of limitations on murder. So they're calling it murder. So Chris Everson is shooting this footage, and you can hear the audio of someone being killed who they then refer to as an interloper or a trespasser. And no one reports someone missing. No one is like, where's daddy? I know. I don't know if maybe poachers are solitary people who just, they're out to make money and they don't have friends or family, or if maybe reports go unfiled by the Zambian government.
Sure.
I don't know.
Or even a fear to report. Like,
right.
What's the climate like there?
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about how weird the climate is. I don't know if this is a joke, but it was mentioned that poachers that get disposed of literally are picked up with cargo nets and a helicopter and dropped into a swamp.
Oh, wow.
And they're actually, it's like frontier justice. It's like, let the wildlife take care of the evidence. The exact quote, let the wildlife take care of the evidence.
Wow.
So I don't know if the Owenses did like the minimal amount to try and not have that aired. They sent a letter to the producer asking that part not be aired. And the producer sends a message to the network. I can only go by what the Owenses say. And, it basically like sort of signing off on it.
Oh, wow.
Like everyone's trying to cover their ass.
Sure.
But I can tell you after the episode aired, the Owenses pick up and move to Idaho and live on a large piece of property. Mm-hmm. In the, remaining years, they have gotten divorced, but they both still live there.
Oh my God. That's weird.
In separate dwellings. It's like, you're too young, but Diane Carroll and Vic Damone got married in Las Vegas and had separate houses. Okay. And even Helena Bonham Carter and Tim Burton live in separate houses, and there's like a well-worn path between them.
Cute.
I know.
They're cute.
Well, weirdly cute. Yeah, weirdly cute. I get, separate dwellings if you can afford it, and especially after you have kids and stuff. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. But yeah, being divorced and still living, I'm not sure what to me, people stay together for like economics or kids. I'm not sure why you divorce and then live in the same. Maybe you're just good friends. Apparently they still stayed friends. I mean,
cool. Yeah. I mean, good for them. I can't imagine living on the same property as my
I wonder how big the property
spouse.
is. Right. Right. Like how big would the property have to be?
Right.
Like you get the North 40 and I have a whole different entrance and exit, and we don't even know each other. And there's an electrified fence between us and a guard shack.
No, thank you.
And a sharpshooter and a little stream with piranha. And that's just, I don't get how that shit, goes. So in the meantime, there is an amazing journalist who has done such great work. He is way more than a journalist. He is a detective.
Wow.
Yeah. So Jeffrey Goldberg has an article in the New York Times and then the Atlantic, and he will not let this go. And I'm shocked that I'm shocked that more people aren't talking about this.
Yeah.
So in a 2010 New Yorker article, Jeffrey Goldberg titled his investigative piece, The Hunted. Did American conservationists in Africa go too far?
Hmm.
And it was a detailed description of what happened. Jeffrey Goldberg is a burr in the Owens' saddle.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and he's like, the second that it happened, you leave Zambia, you go to US, and in 2012 he shows up on that Idaho property. He gets in, he knocks on, Delia Owens' door, and she's like, "How did you find us?" And he's really good.
sure.
And he says, he talks to her about all of her work, and finally gets to what happened. He's like, they're saying the incident in 1996 was actually murder. And she said, "Mark is going to be very upset that you're on our property. I'm going to have to ask you to leave now."
And that was it. That's all she said.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Before, as he's turning around to walk down the steps, she said, "And by the way, our son, Chris, had nothing to do with that. I believe there was a misunderstanding because there's a cameraman with the same name." So Chris Everson is the ABC cameraman.
Mm-hmm.
Their son, actually, I believe it's Mark's son and her stepson. Chris Owens, I believe is full name. I can't remember if it's Christopher or Christian because I've seen it two different ways, but let's just call him Chris. Mark's son, raised mostly by his mother and stepfather in Maine, but he would spend summers in Zambia with his dad and stepmom.
Okay.
So what is reported to have happened is that the guide shot the poacher the first time, and he was down.
Okay.
And Chris Owens put the last two shots at him.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that the interloper / poacher trespasser would have survived.
Right.
But maybe. And then when someone, quote unquote, finishes him off mafia style.
Yeah. Very execution.
Yes,
sounding.
Execution. That's a good word. I mean, just it's a assassination homicide.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's really nothing else we can call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, maybe things are different in Zambia. Maybe you're allowed to shoot people. That's why I don't know. Like, you can't drag them across into your house in your lease line when you're out in the goddamn wilds.
Sure.
Is there like a line like, well, I shot him here, but if I drag him over into this field, it's a whole entire preserve. How do you differentiate? All I know is that person's body was never found.
Oh, they don't have a body.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Okay.
No one's reported missing. Don't know who the interloper / trespasser / poacher is, because apparently it happened more than once.
Boy.
Mark Owens is quoted as saying, "I have gotten rid of 3.
Oh, wow.
So he would legally in America qualify as a serial killer.
That sounds like it.
Delia Owens tries to explain the rumor about picking up someone's body with a cargo net and dropping him into a swamp is the townspeople. She makes it out like stupid Zambians saw him give their son Chris a ride in a cargo net.
Oh,
like he flew him around in a cargo net.
Do
you do that with your sons?
No, totally.
You take them up in your helicopter.
Totally. That's like our party, weekend activities.
You're like, you just make sure it's strong and the ropes are good, and then just get up there, boys.
Hang on.
Right. Hang on a couple hundred feet in the air.
Right.
That's no big deal.
Oh my God.
Right. So that was her explanation. She also said that incident never happened. I do not know how you say that as a cognizant adult when it is on video, or the audio and video combined, but not the actual act on video. But so as it turns out, Chris Everson, the cameraman, took it pretty hard. And when Jeffrey Goldberg came to him, the journalist, and said, "What happened?" And he said, he didn't confirm or deny, but what he said was just such an indictment. He said, "What happened should never have happened, and it was a very emotional event."
Okay, wow.
There you go.
Wow.
So he is on a list of people to be questioned. Delia Owens is on a list to be questioned, and Mark Owens is on a list to be questioned. I don't think there's like an extradition policy between the U.S. and Zambia. They have it. To me, what bothered me about this, and not in their defense, is that this became an issue when the movie opened.
Right.
So the book was hugely popular, and she's written several books about the conservation of animals, but this seems to be the most personal. Like she really is Kaya, or Kaya is her.
Totally.
I mean, she was, an outsider, and I believe that she made the rich star football player a poacher.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like it.
Yeah. I mean, that's, to me, I'm like, why are we not talking about this? Why? It just because it happened in Africa, you can't I don't know, you can't pass this by.
Right.
I'm not saying a poacher is a good person. Those pictures of whatever the hell that piece of shit is that owns Jimmy John's.
Oh, I can't think of his name.
The rich dude that owns Jimmy John's.
Yeah, see,
pictures
like
of him
hunting.
Yes, I hate that.
No,
I hate that.
Fun.
There's a picture of him that makes me laugh so hard. I mean, not laugh because it's sad, but what a fucking douche nozzle. He's on the bow of a boat with a shark, and he's naked and humping it.
Oh god!
Like he's fucking the shark he caught, and I'm like,
wow.
You know what? You're not. This doesn't make you a man or a hunter or interesting. It makes you a weirdo. Like it's like, yeah, I'm fucking the sea.
Sure. Sure. I mean, and that's not fun. That's not my jam at all. I kind of wonder though, these poachers, who are going after their elephants and such. I mean, I don't feel like these guys are going to do it for fun. I think they're doing it for survival, right?
Right. You're right.
Like the conditions there are like, okay, well, what job can I have? How can I feed my family? How can I feed my village?
Right.
So, no, it's not necessarily a choice I agree with.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, if this is dude's only choice, all right.
I know where we fall in the food chain.
We as humans?
Yes.
Where is that?
At the top.
Oh, okay.
I get it.
Okay.
And I used to taunt my vegan friends who would say I never eat anything with a face. I used to say I only eat shit with a face.
Sure.
Or if I'm really hungry, I'll eat the ass end out of a low-flying duck. I would say that. And I don't even like duck. But then you've never had. It's really
duck.
Greasy. No, it's really greasy.
It's so good.
It's fine. But I used to say
if
that.
If it's prepared well.
Yeah. Okay, chef. All right, whatever. You work on that for me. But I've had it a couple times at Asian restaurants, and it's fine.
It's super easy to screw up.
It's greasy.
It's hard to. It's a hard thing to cook. Okay. So they screw it up a lot.
I had it twice, and I don't care. Anyway, I've never eaten the ass end out of a low-flying duck, but I just would threaten people who, when you move to Southern California from Kentucky, you have a lot of friends who are like, oh, I only eat plant-based. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Good for you. I am an omnivore. But I will be honest, the older I get, the less I like meat. I will still eat bacon on anything. But I also don't make it because it's, I splatter myself with hot grease. But I will, if I'm out somewhere and it comes on something, you better believe I will eat me some fucking bacon.
Yeah.
Love me some bacon. But yeah, I don't eat a lot of meat just because I don't like a lot.
Right.
I don't like a lot of it. I've lost some taste for it. But I get where we are, I get where we are in the food chain, but a poacher is a human. Perhaps they do something wrong, but I am not a judge and jury. Neither are the Owenses, even if they're conservationists. They and their son should not have taken liberties to end a person's life that they thought was doing the wrong thing.
Totally.
If that person was coming at them, self-defense, I get.
Right. Different
but
story.
I feel like you can hear that it wasn't a situation where they needed to defend their lives.
Yeah.
I don't know if things were amped up for them because there was a camera crew there and there's a TV show covering them. If maybe, Chris Owens was he was young.
Right.
Like maybe he was just, apparently he was a little bit of an alpha male, like trying to pee around everything.
Sure.
Like the guides were like, he used to try and wrestle us. And so Delia and Mark Owens are both kind of small, slight, thin people. And Chris, I don't know where he came from, but he was like 6'2" and like a linebacker.
Oh, big dude. Okay.
Yeah. So he would kind of wrestle the guides, and they got to where they were, like not afraid of him, but just didn't want to be around him.
Sure.
And apparently there was one young man there named Sunday something. I forgot his last name, but that was the name of the cat in the movie, like a courthouse cat.
Sunday Justice.
That's it. Sunday Justice, which is ironic.
Right.
Ironic name.
That's a very
Sunday Justice actually was a guide who they videotaped talking to Delia in the kitchen.
Oh.
And apparently she uses an exact sentence about flying close to the stars at night.
Oh, and that's a line from the book?
Yeah. Yeah, that Sunday Justice was very interested in air travel, and Mark Owens ended up getting like a helicopter that he would fly at night to try and, you don't typically fly at night. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
And he says in the kitchen, as part of this, ABC documentary, do you fly closer to the stars at night, to Delia?
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like Kaya is Delia. Mm-hmm. Delia is totally. Kaya. And maybe it's a way of her justifying that they ended a poacher's life by putting it in a book that becomes a movie about a guy who's... Would you say that what he does in the book and the film is like sexual assault or just like bordering on it?
Oh, he didn't complete it. She
got
fended him
somehow?
off, but that's where it was going for sure. For sure.
So I feel like she thinks that poachers are sexually assaulting
the
animals. Yeah. I mean, I know, I get it. I get it.
I get the thought process, but like you said, I mean, it's not their job.
It's not. And what you said was a very important point, that probably poachers aren't doing it for fun. They're not the guy that owns Jimmy John's.
Totally.
They're not rich people who are paying for a safari to shoot something and watch it die. These are people who need something to live.
Totally.
Doesn't, justify when an animal becomes extinct, they're on a list and you don't do that.
Right.
But I get it a little more. I absolutely don't get that you end someone's life because you think they're doing something that you don't approve of.
No.
Unless they're coming to kill you. If they're coming to kill you, do what you have to do.
I mean, self-defense would be a different story, absolutely.
Right.
But no, this is somebody breaking the rules.
Yes.
And it's the government's job to enforce those rules.
It's frontier justice, and you don't get away with that. Yeah. So Jeffrey Goldberg is on the Today Show the week that the movie opens. And he said, Zambian authorities don't believe Delia was directly involved in the murder or the disposal of the body. What they believe is that she is the most important witness. He said, Delia told me point blank they knew nothing of the murder and they had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So in the article he wrote when he visited the Idaho property, he said that she said, I was not involved. There was never a case. There was nothing.
Wow.
I don't know how that happens when you have video footage, and how in 2022, all I can think of is that there just must be such a governmental blockage or slowdown or paperwork or legality of dealing with an African nation. I mean, I just can't even imagine how the fuck has this not been, So the Zambian authorities are saying, hey, we'd like to talk to the Owenses, all of them, including Chris, as well as Chris Everson and Meredith Vieira.
Okay, the cameraman, and then and Meredith was there on the ground
too?
Okay.
She saw it happen.
Uh-huh.
How do you go about your life?
Wow.
But as of today, This unsolved case with no body is still open,
Wow.
and the Owenses have not been charged with any crimes, but they are wanted for questioning by Zambian authorities.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel a bit like an asshole, like I'm coming after an old lady who's an author, who's a successful author, who's written, you know what I mean? Like her life's work is to try and be a conservationist, and she's,
Sure.
wants to help animals. And I mean, I get that. What I don't get is the wholesale slaughter of a human being.
Mm-mm.
That's the part I can't. How do you sleep?
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that Jeffrey Goldberg contacted the home where Chris Owens is supposed to live with his mother and stepfather. And the stepfather said, I've never heard of Chris Owens.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Wow.
He has an arrest record. He's had some assault, mostly like bar fights, mostly like anger issue things.
Oh, here in America.
In America.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think he might, be struggling as an adult. I feel like if you kill somebody, that might haunt you.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
And when your family denies that they know you, that's fairly interesting.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Honestly, as much as you know about seeing the movie and reading the book, I would actually love to know what the tipsters think about this. Maybe I'm like the asshole here.
Personally, I don't think that you are, but yeah, I'm super interested in.
I would love to know what people think, because I know some of the listeners have seen the movie, read the book, or both.
Yeah.
And since I've done neither, and all I know is what I know from my other side, I think Delia Owens and Mark Owens and Chris Owens have a lot to answer to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and just the fact that they pieced out as soon as it was like, if
Deuces.
it's super
Right.
suspicious.
Yeah.
I think they knew. I think
they
knew.
got out of Dodge immediately after what happened. And they had set up, I have to say the conservation area managed to stay open with funding, and it's done great work. When Jeffrey Goldberg went back in the 2000s, one of the guides showed him a field of black rhinos, and they were almost extinct, and they were able to help this population rebuild.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's done good works.
Great. That's awesome.
It is beautiful and wonderful. Also, there are potentially 3 dead poachers.
Yeah. There's a balance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the scales. You gotta do a lot of good works to just tip off for a murder or two.
Yeah, a murder or two. You got to save a species.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, not good enough, baby doll. No, I feel like if there are potentially three people that have been dumped into a swamp, somebody needs to answer for that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So I would love to hear what the tipsters think, but yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to sound like an asshole and say somebody needs to. I don't want to say pay. Somebody needs to answer.
Answer for sure. Show up and answer the questions.
Exactly. All right, tipsters, let me know what you think, and I'm going to tell you it's going to be a great time with Joshua here, because we're going to talk about some cases that are amazing, and I know you're going to love him like I do. And more cowbell.